Hi, it's Kim. So I've set my final exam for my degree on Thursday and hence officially completed my maths major. It's feeling a bit sentimental and decided to review the maths major and the experience overall. I wanted to go over what I've actually learned and the journey that it's been. I've double majored in chemistry and maths, but chemistry was that other major that gave me depression, so I'm not sure if I'll end up making a video for chemistry because I'd rather pretend that it didn't happen. There were a few different points that I wanted to go over in this video, and the first one being the education system, how I feel about it, and what's happening with how things are taught. And then the second point is the actual skills, being able to interpret the world in maths. And the third point that I'll be going over is where it leads to after the degree, as well as do you have to be smart to do maths in university? And then the conclusion with the overall enjoyment and summary. The first point that I wanted to bring up was how the systems in place for schools tend to fall apart once you leave. I'm not going to be doing further research or study with regards to my degree since I was only getting like borderline HDs each semester. So this exam is pretty much the last time that I'm going to be using these abstract theorems and formulas or being able to do all this crazy stuff. Actually, there is a lot of discussion on what you actually end up learning after completing a degree because most students will forget what they learned in high school when they enter uni, and then most graduates will forget what they learned in uni when they go into their first job, if your job will often not be directly related to what you learned as well. The education system here has some flaws because you're not actually preparing for a specific job, but you are doing something, right? And I just wanted to like go into a bit of discussion about what that kind of system means, really. Currently, it is the 21st century, but we are still heavily focused on exams being the majority of your grades. So exams do not allow you to look up answers, communicate with other people, and you can't make use of like all the resources that are out there. Clearly, that's going to be different once you enter the workforce because looking up things is being resourceful, and talking to other people is called collaboration. While in school, that's just cheating. Okay, so we live in an era where the information that we need is out there somewhere, especially during your undergraduate years where you're not creating new maths. Undergraduates have been taking that same course for many years. You're doing maths that is at least 100 years old. So there is nothing new about what you're learning. It's going to be on floating around the internet on Google somewhere. So an analogy that I wanted to bring up is school will normally ask you a question such as 5 plus 5 equals something. So there is one correct answer, which happens to be 10. But outside this system that you're in, it's more beneficial to know how to fill in the blank answer of something plus something equals 10. This is the kind of thinking that we are using every time we try and Google something we don't understand, right? The key difference being that there are many correct inputs that's going to eventually lead you to your answer because the answer that you're thinking about or that you need to know or figure out is out there somewhere. But if you put in the wrong keyword in the search bar, you have to sift through probably many different websites before getting the needed information. So there are some better answers, but many correct answers for a certain problem. With maths, there's computer programs such as Wolfram Alpha and even your phone calculator that surpasses the capacity of humans to calculate complex formulas or equations or doing these calculations. We're not expected to do them in our head anymore, right? Because you are always going to have some computers or your phone with you. With the rise of computational power, it brings into question, do we really need to learn all this algebra or maybe multivariable calculus and solve them by hand? Computers on hand do make calculating these complex formulas or algorithms less important, but to be able to do them by hand is less important, but it is somewhat still important because we have to be able to see whether the answer that they spit out, if you end up putting it into MATLAB or Wolfram Alpha, whether the answer makes sense. What is more important, however, is that you will always need people who understand maths because computers are limited in the sense that they're unable to analyze and communicate the results to other human beings in an effective manner because they're not humans, right? Skill of communicating maths, as well as being able to analyze the results and understanding the impacts that it has for your overall problem or results is an important skill that you develop throughout your degree. I think it's pretty interesting to see that there is a significant portion of society working on softwares or trying to build robots that's primary goal is to replace humans. Computers excel against humans on a specific range of tasks, mainly methodical and repetitive tasks, but doing it very quickly. And that includes operations with large numbers, right? But a robot that can pour a glass of water, like a physical like glass of water, is very difficult, which is something that most people are capable of doing, but to get a robot to do it, to build that kind of robot, is extremely tricky. This kind of leads into the societal problem of how there is an increase in the number of jobs for very high skilled workers and low skilled workers, but then the jobs like in the middle are decreasing, and then that goes into like how there's an increase in unequal society or wages, and that's off the topic, but my personal belief is that people who are working like hospitality and stuff should get paid a bit more. But moving on to the next point. So what skills do you actually learn? The important thing is that throughout this years of learning, you have learned how to learn. You have also learned how to interpret problems and real life situations in terms of maths. That's why I wanted to discuss some additional skills that you may have gained along the way, and more specifically for maths majors. Studying maths has taught me to be more resourceful and develop better problem solving skills, especially in the field of learning to interpret the world in a maths way. Because once you develop the skills of formulating the right kind of problem, then as discussed previously, you can always just like plug that in the calculator, or the computer will do the rest of the calculations for you as long as you know what's going on. This could be kind of obvious, but there's maths all around us, and you can gain a more intuitive understanding of numbers and how they come up in day-to-day life. One example that I wanted to bring up was the renewal cost for my driver's license. I recently got a full license now, and you could choose the number of years that you want to renew it for, with the longest renewal period option being 10 years, which averaged out to be the cheapest per year cost of $50 per year. And then for 5 years, it was $52 per year. But if you were only going to renew it for 1 year, then that was $60. So you could, there was other numbers as well, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So it's interesting to see that the cost per year value was decreasing, but not at a linear pace. So you don't want to drop $500 in one go to get the 10-year renewal price, because that's a lot of money. But then if you only renew it for 1 year, are you really making the best use of your money? That kind of questions. What I did was ultimately I just chose 5 years because I couldn't be bothered getting another photo. If I go for 6 years, and I have to go into a center and get a photo taken, but I don't want to do that. But that's not the point. My point was that there are moments in life, there are choices to be made, and it's helpful to reframe the problem in terms of maths, and sometimes it makes a bit more practical sense and you can make better decisions. Generally speaking, though, in day-to-day life, I don't think university maths will help you that much, because most of these maths is in high school. You develop this level of math skills in high school. So when you come across taxes, or if you want to start investing in stocks, I think it's good to have a solid foundation of basic arithmetic, because then you have an idea of how the numbers will change over the years. But as well as when you're going shopping and you see a good deal, or you think it's a good deal, but is it really? There is maths every day, and if you do decide to do further maths, it really does help with getting that extra intuitive understanding. But I would only recommend that you major in it if you really enjoy it and you want to explore more. Where does it lead to after the degree? This depends on what major you choose, whether it be statistics, applied maths, or pure maths. Stats and applied maths majors are more in demand in terms of jobs, so you can go into like finance, government sector, technology, and data science is that hot new field that everyone's talking about. But pure maths, it can get a bit more tricky because people mainly do choose to go into research, but I'm sure that the kind of problem solving skills that you gain within a pure maths degree is still very heavily valued. Each university will have a different kind of research that they're focusing on, so that's something to look into if you do want to go a bit further. Do you have to be smart to finish a major in maths? I've had cases where when I've told people that I'm majoring in maths, people are so impressed by the fact that, oh, you're majoring in maths, you must be smart kind of vibes. But with finishing a major or getting through 3 years of maths, I will say that although it helps to have general aptitude for numbers, because most of your grades are going to be heavily weighted towards your exams, it's okay to take a longer time to understand certain concepts and be okay with not understanding everything in one go. So I often found that I didn't really understand what was going on when the lectures were going on, but a couple days before exams is when things really started to like come together and click or make sense. So what's required is that you have a solid understanding of high school maths, but you don't have to be like super smart or a genius, but obviously I'm sure that would help. I think it would be great if I was able to understand everything in one go, but that wasn't the case for me, and I don't think it's the case for the majority of people who are taking these courses either. And when it comes to learning, I think if you have an awareness of how much you know or you don't know, it's more often than enough. Because once you're aware of where your gaps in knowledge are, then you can go ahead and start asking the right questions to your tutors or lecturers, or go online and try and fill that gap. There are many resources available, and for undergraduate courses, you're not creating new maths. Like, people have been taking real analysis for many decades. These maths are up to like 100 years old or something. So it's there and it's been around for a while. So there's a lot of places that you can go if you're kind of stuck on something. But the danger is if you're a student who fall into the category of making the mistake of you think you understand something but you actually don't, then this is pretty dangerous because you will struggle. Not necessarily in maths, but in studies overall, because you need to first develop a better awareness in your own thinking processes. If you think you understand something but you actually don't, then there is no opportunity for you to study a bit extra on that specific topic, or you don't know which parts you should be focusing on because you think you know everything, but come exam time and you realize you can't actually answer the questions, which is pretty bad, I think. Yeah, so that's the second category of students, but if you're not that, then you can definitely do a maths major or any major that you really enjoy because you know how to study. I'm pretty satisfied overall with having completed my maths major, and it is definitely my favorite child out of the double major. So the chemistry is something that I'm unwilling to talk about due to traumatic experiences, but I guess it's possible to end up feeling sentimental about that as well. There were definitely some very frustrating moments where you're stuck in an assignment, but there is also that moment when things start to make sense. And if you have enjoyed high school maths and you're interested in going a bit deeper into how maths operates in different fields and the beauty in maths, then I highly recommend this path. Anyways, thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.